Today we're going to be taking a look at some bass line shapes based around the interval of a ninth. Now if we take a look at a basic C major scale and I give a number to each degree of that scale, here's what I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And when I reach 8, that's the same as 1. So what happens is this C and this C are an octave apart. Now if I was to continue on up in the scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, this is a D note. It's the same as the second degree of the C major scale, but in this case I'm going to name this as a 9. So all of our bass lines here are going to be based around that interval of a ninth. I'm actually going to play that ninth though for all of these bass lines. Instead of being on the first string there, I'm going to actually be playing it on the second string at the 12th fret. Alright, now let's take a look at the first pattern. This is going to be based on, at first all of these are going to be based around a C root on the 8th fret of the 4th string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play that C on the 4th string at the 8th fret. I'm going to play the 10th fret on the 3rd string, which is going to be a G, that's the 5th of the chord. I'm going to play the 10th fret on the 2nd string, which is going to be the octave above the C that we had on the 4th string. And then I'm going to play the D, which is the 12th fret on the 2nd string, and that's the 9th. So I'm going to have a root, 5th, octave, and the 9th. So here's the whole pattern together. Now because this pattern doesn't have any third in it, you can use this over all kinds of different chords. Major, minor chords, sus2 chords, and it's going to work just fine. So now what we're going to do is play a groove between a C minor chord and a B flat major chord. And again, because this particular line doesn't have any third in it, I can use the same pattern for both chords. What I'm going to do is play the pattern starting on C on the 4th string for the C minor chord, and I'm going to play the same pattern starting on the 6th fret, the B flat. Alright, so here's the groove. Alright, now the next pattern that we're going to be doing involving the 9th is actually taking out a note from the first pattern. Instead of us playing the root, the 5th, the octave, and then going to the 9th, all we're going to do is go from the root, 5th, and then the 9th. So now let's take a look at pattern number 2 in our groove going from C minor to B flat. Alright, so the first two patterns that we were taking a look at didn't contain a third, so they were neither major or minor. Therefore, you could use them over either type of chord. The next pattern that we're going to take a look at, we're going to have a subset. We're going to have a minor version and a major version because we're going to introduce the third in that. And what a third means is that chords are built from scales. And if I have a C major scale and I play the first note, the third note, and the fifth note of that C major scale, that's a C major chord. In this case, it's a C, E, and a G note. Now, if I take that E note, that third, and I lower it by a half step, that's what sometimes is referred to as a flat 3. What I'm doing is playing the third note in a major scale and lowering it by a half step. So a minor chord is 1, flat 3, and 5. So in order for a chord to be major or minor, major it has to have the 3, minor it has to have the flat 3. So now we're going to play these patterns. First of all, we're going to take the pattern and play it as major. So here's what we're going to do. We have the root on the C note on the 4th string at the 8th fret, the 5th on the 10th fret of the 3rd string, our 9th, which is on the 12th fret of the 2nd string. Then we're going to go up 2 frets from there, and right there is our 3rd of the chord. So that's going to be our E. And then I'm going to come back down to the octave, which is going to be at the 10th fret of the 2nd string. So here's the whole pattern. If you want to, you could even slide up from the 9th to the 3rd, something like this. Now for the minor version of this pattern, we're going to have a flat 3. So instead of an E, we're going to have an E flat. So we're going to still have that root, that C note on the 4th string at the 8th fret. We're going to have that 5th on the 3rd string at the 10th fret. We're going to have the 9th, which is going to be on the 12th fret of the 2nd string. And then we're just going to go up a half step to get the E flat, which is on the 13th fret of the 2nd string. And then we're going to come back down to the 10th fret on the 2nd string for our octave, for our C on that 2nd string. So here's the whole minor version of this pattern. So now let's apply these two patterns to our groove going from C minor to a B flat major. This time, unlike the other times we were playing, I have to do something different for the C minor chord versus the B flat. I'm going to use my minor pattern for the C, and I'm going to use my major pattern starting on the 6th fret B flat on the 4th string. Now you can actually take all of these patterns and start them on the 3rd string as well. So if, for instance, I had a chord progression that was going from C minor to an F minor, I could play so for that F minor, what I did was I started on that F note that's on the 8th fret of the 3rd string. All right, so have fun with these different patterns. Remember that the first 2 of them can be used over any type of chord, and the last one that we did, there were 2 versions of it. One was for a major chord and one was for a minor chord. Now, as I was demonstrating these, I was only using one particular rhythm, but depending on the style that you're playing, the length of the chords, your rhythms can vary. And so as you kind of jam along with some different chord progressions, try experimenting with some different rhythms, and also try playing the notes in some different order, because they all work and you can play them in different order and get some different things happening.